But sometimes a well-placed question can provide answers in and of itself, right?
Hey, I believe I have created an accurate model based off the codex of dimensional structure used what was given within the book to construct a multi-dimensional solid in SolidWorks, the program used for professional 3D design, and applied colors to each of the cosmic forces. What is Balavatar's Codex of Dimensional Structure? It is a tome found near Lorden Althar, the single remaining Arathi mage in Hallowfall, that, during his short quest, is trying to find
I still have to do this, actually.
the way how to connect his people to their homeland with the use of the arcane. The tome is very interesting and details the Arathi understanding.
We don't limit our thinking of the cosmos to monopole elemental phase spaces. A discredited notion rooted in ancient myths from old Arathor, a comforting, if technically incorrect, arrangement of the fundamental forces of the cosmos. One wonders if such quaint notions would have faded but for creatures like demons and the old gods, who work primarily through a single energy type. This conflation of culture and dimensional topology holds back so many otherwise promising mages. Put simply, the cosmos appears as a hexateron. Imagine a four-sided tetrahedron internally extruded to form a multidimensional solid with 20 planes of existence, 15 transitory pathways, and 6 vertices, where interferon patterns create monopolar expressions of cosmic forces. Dude, this is the kind of thing that you read on Twitter of someone that wants to sound smart, but doesn't actually know what the hell they're talking about. Like, that's just so many words that I have no idea what half of them means. Singular energy types are unstable according to Ogdean's law, and thus they bind to one or more secondary element. The Firelands contains as much magma as it does flame, and while the holy radiance of the sacred flame acts as an eternal beacon.
Of the cosmos, where the arrangement of the fundamental forces of the cosmos is left out, but we're given how the cosmos would appear. As an artist and someone that has also worked in 3D design, this intrigued me. This looked like a puzzle with all of the pieces left on the table, ready to be assembled. Put simply, the cosmos appears as a hexateron. What is a hexateron?
Yeah.
It is a 5-simplex, the solution to the problem. Make 20 equilateral, meaning equal side, triangles using 15 matchstick patterns, where each side of every triangle is exactly one matchstick. Going through the wiki for 5-simplex, only question I had was, of what use is this for anyone? I studied computer science and thought that perhaps this could have some use in coding, upon which I found that there exists a simplex method or algorithms which are used for mathematical optimization in code. Looking at 6 and 7 simplex, it kind of starts looking like a human eye, which is very interesting.
That is very interesting.
Imagine a 4-sided tetrahedron internally extruded to form a multidimensional solid. In SolidWorks' process of internally extruding a 4-sided tetrahedron, which would be easiest to imagine as a 4-sided dice, creates an object which looks exactly like a 8-sided dice. With 20 planes of existence, 15 transitory pathways, and 6 vertices, where interferon patterns create monopolar expressions of cosmic forces.
20 planes of existence. You see, now, it is important to remember that all of this is their view of the cosmos. It does not necessarily mean that it is true. It just means that this is from their perspective, how they think the cosmos plays out. So that means we now have 3 different perspectives. We have the cosmological perspective from the Titans. We have the cosmological perspective from the brokers. They say that this is their understanding after studying the first ones. And then we have this, I don't want to call it a cosmological perspective because it seems much more scientific than just cosmological.
patterns from within itself that create a single link to each of the cosmic forces with 20.
Just will you see something here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Which would be 20 then? Or does reality not count as a plane of existence, but rather the Emerald Dream and the Shadowlands, and reality is the culmination of the 20? Because that could be it. You have light as one plane of existence, holy as another. You have disorder as one plane of existence, foul as another. Death, necromantic. Shadow, void. Order, arcane. Life, nature. Then you have water, spirit, fire, air, decay, and earth, all planes of existence. Then you have the Emerald Dream, a plane of existence. The Shadowlands, a plane of existence. And all of them feed into what we would know as reality. I do have it saved, Arathi, but I can't remember where I saved it, so it's always easier to just do it on Google. But I do have it saved somewhere in one of the folders. I probably have it saved multiple times in multiple folders because I have like a crap ton of folders with different screenshots of different things in WoW that I will sometimes look up, but I usually look it up off stream when I want to like figure out what a video is or I want to make a video. But all right, so 20 planes of existence, 15 transitory pathways. So 20 planes of existence, 15 connections between these, I'm assuming, and 6 vertices where interferon patterns create monopolar expressions of cosmic forces. So that would absolutely be this, right? The 6 cosmological forces that create the mono, meaning one or singular, expressions of energy, right? So it's these 6. Okay.
20 planes of existence inside of it. 15 paths to each of the forces, and 6 vertices, the apexes or highest points of the object. From all of this which were given in the tome, how would an object be made? That appears as, but is not the hexateron, and looks like a 8-sided dice, that we're asked to imagine, with all of its vertices, paths, and planes inside of it. This puzzle, with all its pieces, is waiting to be solved.
Okay.
As soon as I saw these objects at the start of the War Within, they have been a massive eyesore. They are everywhere in the city of Dornogal and are near the most important places in the city. I've picked up
the fact that the dwarves, or at least the Earthenir, craft a lot of these suggest it is baked into their base code, this sort of pattern, because this pattern is part of their own existence. So it's almost as if it's something that they revere. Humans have the same elements, right? So you go back to the earliest human civilizations we know of, and what was every human society obsessed with from day one? The stars. You're absolutely obsessed with the stars. We would constantly look at the stars, try and track what the stars did. Most of our theories about what happens to us, most of our stories come from the stars. Now, of course, when you go back far enough before technology, they would literally only use the stars that they could see with the naked eye. But then once we start getting telescopes, it becomes a lot more intricate, and our theories become a lot more intricate. But we are still absolutely obsessed with them. Did you see the latest Titan Disc quest? Not yet, Elodie.
Up and read the Palvadar's Codex while I was questing through Hellowfall for the first time, and I couldn't help but feel that somehow these two were connected. Here is one of the places where I spent time waiting in queues. First, While waiting here, I quickly connected the 6 vertices, which oddly enough were missing and could imply that these forces would be outside the hierarchy of each individual pyramid. Second, there are 14 surfaces in total, 6 where the cut vertices would be, and 8 in between the vertices. The way I got to 15 points, dots, or pathways is connecting each of them to the center. In Gematria, the number 7 is the number of completion. In Kabbalah, center is defined as a direction, and with 8 surfaces in between the vertices add up to 15. Third, 20 planes of existence. The way I got to this conclusion is very difficult to present in 2D form. This was my first attempt to explain this to a couple of friends. I had been successful in voice, but thought that there would be a better way to show this on paper. The next morning I laid out the pieces and asked the question, to how many forces would the planes be connected to? What about the forces in between the vertices? What would they even be? With the use of the cosmology from the first chronicle, I had set Holy on top, with Void at the bottom, Nature on one side with Necromantic at the other, and Arcane next to Nature with Valve being opposite to Arcane. First, I connected each of the 6 vertice forces to each other, with the exception of connecting the opposites. This adds up to 12. Interesting thing to note is that with these combinations of 8 the other surfaces, there would always be 2 in between. Second, I connected 3 of the forces with the same rule that the opposites couldn't be connected. This adds up to 8 connections in total. Now, instead of there being 2 surfaces next to them, now there is only 1. All of these combinations add up to 20 planes in total. After laying out the planes in Notepad, I went straight to SolidWorks. Put simply, the cosmos appears as a hexateron. If a thing appears like something, it doesn't mean that's what the thing is. This object appears as a square, but it's a pyramid. These objects appear as circles, but they're apples. This appears as something abstract, but they're apples in shape of a cube. This object appears as a whale, but it could be someone's mom. I think this is the main key to the puzzle. What gives this object its form, as stated, is 4-sided tetrahedron internally extruded to form a multi-dimensional solid, which is a form of the 8-sided dice. So when I put this form in SolidWorks, this is what happened. An 8-sided dice that appears as a 5 simplex. The object in Dornagal can also appear as a 5 simplex for multiple angles, which requires vertices off, which is a solution to the puzzle. This is what the object would look like in the program. This is what the object would look like cut in half. Smaller balls represent the 2 vertice connection with 2 nearby connections. Larger balls represent the 3 vertice connection with 1 nearby connection. This day started off by making layout in Notepad, and by afternoon I had made these models in SolidWorks. At the time, one of my friends told me I should make a video about this. I considered it at the time. I had the model, but I was missing where to put everything.
If I'm reading this correctly, Blizzard is going with every step or with every revelation of the universe and how the universe fits together. Blizzard is going more and more complex. So we get the first cosmological map, and the first cosmological map isn't bad. It sort of explains everything. It puts everything in its place, and it sort of serves more as just a way to identify all of the various forces that exist within the universe. The second one sort of throws things a little bit out of whack, but then I believe at the time it was Taliesin that figured out if you layer the 2 images of the brokers and of the titans on top of each other in 3D space rather than in 2D space, they actually fit perfectly. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. The issue is more from perspectives. So the brokers were already starting to think more in 3D rather than just in 2D. And then the Arathi clearly understand that it is more than just 3D. It is multi-dimensional in its approach. This suggests the next race that we get that try to explain the cosmology is gonna be, you're gonna need to be Stephen Hawking or Albert Einstein just to follow along, if the pattern holds.
Couple of months have passed after making these models, and after all that time I started thinking how would colors be applied to the models I've made. I picked up my phone and started looking at the basic color wheel. First, I made an assumption that Holy and Void would be white and black, because in the lore they are quite strange. Unlike others, two of them seem to come from within. Second, to make it easier for myself, I decided to list all the forces using chronicle cosmology. Nature, necromantic, arcane and fell, fire, air, earth and water, spirit and decay. There are two missing. Place I went to solve this was the alchemy profession from the game, and started from the beginning. In the first version of the game, there are only 4 elemental items players can use: earth, air, fire and water. In the Outland Alchemy, there are 3 new elemental items, this time called Primal. Besides the ones from the original version of the game, now there is Life, Mana, and Shadow. There is also...
Yeah, but this is just very interesting, and it sort of... Primal Shadow obviously falls in one of them, but I don't think Primal Shadow is what Primal Shadow is. I think, if anything, this proves the theory that I have had from the beginning, and that is that the old gods are the old gods in how they appear today because they absorbed decay. So technically, Primal Shadow should have been Primal Decay, but because Azeroth absorbed all of the spirit, so there is no spirit elemental realm because Azeroth absorbed all of that, and the old gods absorbed all of the decay. Primal Spirit, which is technically what it should have been, is now Primal Mana, because by absorbing all of the Primal Spirit, Azeroth started to create anima, mana, the fuel of magic. That's the byproduct product that Azeroth started to create. And when the old gods consumed all of the decay, they started to create Primal Shadow as a byproduct of of just this merger between the void and decay. Because technically speaking, the old gods are not part of Shadow. The old gods are part of the void. So it seems like when the void absorbed the decay, Shadow was the natural outflow of that.
So Primal Nether. The color is...
Which would kind of make sense in a weird roundabout way, because decay is what happens to life as it transitions from alive to dead. It decays, right? So it is the absence of something or the slow disappearance of something. Shadow is the absence of light. So as light decays, it is the shadow that takes over. If something blocks the light, shadow is the thing that's there. So you can view that as the decaying process of light. At least rudimentary speaking. We could go probably much deeper than that, but I think it serves for our purposes here.
Interesting. In Northrend Alchemy, there is 6 elementals in total, this time called Eternals, with the Nether and Mana missing. After Northrend, we don't see elements.
Yeah, but mana being missing, I don't think is a problem. I think it's actually, the problem was Blizzard recognized 7 doesn't make sense because there aren't 7 elements. So instead of doing life and mana, I think what Blizzard did was they said life is mana. So they merge the two, eternal life and eternal mana. Or we can look at it and say, if you combine primal life and primal mana, you will get eternal life. Because mana is the fuel that drives everything, and life is, well, what uses the fuel that drives everything. And when you combine those two, it becomes eternal. Because now it has the fuel that keeps driving it.
In alchemy until Draenor. There we have only 4 cold sorcerers: earth, air, fire, and water. What is mana? It is a resource that is used by almost every class in the game, and mana regeneration is buffed by spirit primary stat. Arcane magic is used to control the flow of mana. Mana isn't arcane. According to Dave Kosak, who was the writer for the game at the time, if mana was water, then arcane would be pressure, steam pressure. What is nether? There is little we know about it, but for the purpose of this video, the icon of primal nether is orange, the skybox of the Hellfire Peninsula, the land closest to the energies of the nether and the dark portal, is orange, and the land itself is orange. What is shadow? Memory. Reliving memories until the tormented soul is at peace and gets to leave after it becomes whole or free from its shadow. Plenty of characters from the game refer to what we see to be ghosts as shadows, shadows of their former selves, memories. In alchemy and myth from our own world, it is associated with salts and crystals. Opposite of salts, crystals, and memory would be oil and emotion. Which brings us to the next question. What is elemental life? Emotion. Being whole, holy, emotionally like a child. Opposite of it would be fractured, tormented, or traumatized. There is a clear difference that has been made between life and nature magic in Dragonflight. This is from one of the encounters within the Algathar Academy dungeon. Velen from Draenor also says the light is life, from which we all begin to which we all return. With all of this, I got the 2 remaining forces that we were missing, life and shadow.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wouldn't put decay next to it, but fine, I'll let it go. Because technically they are connected, I guess.
I will start with earth, air, water, and fire. For simplicity, I will use primal incarnates from Dragonflight, but will use other examples as well. Fyrakk for red-orange. Elemental fire and fire elementals that we face in the game all have this color. Opposite of Fyrakk would be Viranoth for blue-green. Elemental water and water elementals are shown in the game as blue with green armor and elements. Alchemy from the game uses elemental fire and water to transmute 2 of them into either earth or air. Iridikron is depicted as pure yellow. Elemental earth is yellow, many earth spells are yellow, and runes and eyes of the earth elementals are yellow. Razagath would be purple and opposite of Iridikron. Many air elementals from the game are purple, Stormrooks in their natural state are purple. Spirit's color would be pure blue. Argus in his pure blue form, Volatile Soul Fragment, Soul Blight, and Soul Blight Orb. Spirit Healers are blue. Dominated Controlled Rooks turn blue. Spirits of Sylvanas and Arthas are blue. Domination is blue. Outline for Dispel Magic is blue. The case color would be orange and opposite of Spirit. Blight is orange, Nether is orange, Primal Nether icon, Plague Lands are orange. Outline for Dispel Disease is orange. On the crossroads of Spirit and Decay would be Life and Shadow.
This is what you call autism approach to World of Warcraft. Like, the fact that he actually sat through all of this is autistic as hell, and I love it.
Life's color would be green-yellow. Renew spell from priests is green. Dispel Life is green. Many monks from Pandaria have yellow-green armor. Their spells are the same color and use Life Spirit magic. Main theme of the expansion is dealing with one's memories and emotion. Xiaohao has yellow on his robes, not to be confused with holy, which would be white. Light in the sky is white. Many holy priest spells are distinctly more white, while disciplined priest spells are more yellow. Shadow's color would be red-purple. The spell curse is purple. Many Sha are red-purple, like Sha of Pride and Sha of Fear, two
Shadow
of the
Ball.
strongest Sha we face. Potentially in their purest form, because two of them are...
Well, you have Shadow Bolt, you have the Void Walker from Warlocks, also mostly all Shadow spells, actually. Shadow Bulwark is one of the spells that they have. So yeah, Shadow Purple, obviously.
in the raid environment. Shadow elementals and shadow in general, not to be confused with void, which would be black. And finally, I will arrange necromantic, nature, fel, and arcane. Necromantic would be pure red. These would be all the vampiric spells and characters we have seen before. Argus is pure red in his natural form. When Argus arrives in Shadowlands, he is red. Nature would be green, an opposite of necromantic. In-game often depicted as dark green. Relic of Ionar, spores in Outland and spores in Draenor. On the cross-section of Necro and Nature would be Fel and Arcane. Fel would be yellow-orange. Fel in its pure form is seen on Sargeras, Kil'jaeden in TBC, and many Legion enemies. Fel primary beings range from fire to life on the wheel. I will speak more.
It's very interesting that he says foul in its pure form. Because foul in its corrupted form is green. Foul fire, for example, is green. It's not actually yellow. But a very interesting thing that happens, if you're a warlock, your original incineration is yellow. It's only once you complete the quest for foul fire that it becomes green. This suggests that when you combine foul with the fire element, that's where it turns green. So foul, basically, the second foul becomes tied to anything else, it becomes green. So it takes on a green hue, so to speak. Very interesting. How's it going? This sounds interesting. P. Diddley, it is very, very interesting. I'm not even someone that reacts to our videos, but this is ridiculous.
More in the next part of the video about this. Arcane would be blue-purple and opposite of Fel. We see so much Arcane in WoW, and it is possible that Titans are Arcane primary beings, ordered Cosmos and then taken secondary properties. Opposite of Titans would be Fallen Titans. In Antorus, we see Fallen form of Agramar and Sargeras within the raid, while in their Warcraft 3 concept art, they look more Arcane aligned. Before getting to applying these to the 3D model, there is one more depth that could be added to these colors, and that is weight. If we assume Holy is on top of the model and Void is at the bottom of the model, with Necro, Nature, Fel, and Arcane being natural in the middle, we can give buoyancy to the remaining 8 elements. Water is heavier than fire, earth is heavier than air, decay is heavier than spirit, shadow is heavier than life. How salts in alchemy would be heavier than oil. This will determine their position on the 3D model. This is how the object looks like with all the colors added to it. Colors around the vertices are the colors we usually see in the game too when seeing this magic type.
Okay.
This would be the nature palette, this would be the arcane, this would be necromantic, this would be fel, this would be holy, and this would be the void color palette. All opposing forces are on the opposite sides. Water is heavier and at the bottom, near void, while fire is lighter and closer to holy. Decay is at the bottom, spirit at the top, life on the top, shadow at the bottom, and earth below with the air above. For planes of existence, we either connect 2 vertices or 3 vertices. For example, this ball in the middle connects arcane and nature. and is also close to water and spirit. This ball here connects holy and arcane, and is close to air and spirit. This ball connects three vertices, holy, arcane, and nature, in this case, with spirit being in between them. This ball at the bottom connects three vertices, arcane, nature, and void, with water being in between them. If the object was closed, there would be 20 of these balls in total for 20 planes of existence. This would also work for the individual forces that aren't on the vertices. Take, for example, Fyrakk and Shadow Flame, or the new Paladin Hero Tree talent Herald of the Sun that uses Fire Spell.
So, Muxar, this all comes from what you're seeing now isn't really from him, right? So he's not inventing this theory. He is visualizing the Arathi theory of the universe. So if you go back to the beginning of the video, it showcases how the Arathi in the book that you find in the Out of Dawn, the Arathi view the cosmological universe as this shape that he has in front of you now, right? It's this shape. And all of these things fit together in that way. So he is trying to visualize what they say. And he sort of went through everything in the game to try and get all of the colors together, the way that they claim it all connects to each other. That's sort of what he's doing here. So you're just watching how the Arathi view the cosmological universe.
Or perhaps something more like a warlock that pushes more to decay. All God's primary element is decay. All of this looks very familiar. Opposite of that would be something like world trees, or perhaps Accolonn. Old gods are being of primary decay and secondary shadow. What would the opposite be? There is an item in the game called Life Spirit, which summons a wisp. Would easily mean that world trees would be an opposite side of the spectrum.
Beshkan, how you doing, brother? That lost map.
With the model explained, here are some examples of how it could be used with some theories. Azerite is blue and orange, spirit and decay, or creation and destruction, as referred to by Sylvanas. In the series of
Alright, that is interesting. If you guys remember, a few months ago, I started to express a deeply held belief that the old gods were originally the children of Azeroth. So if we go back just a little bit here, I believe the old gods to be the children of Azeroth. I believe that it was Xal'atath who offered the old gods the power of the void. And the reason for it is the old gods themselves express very little in terms of pure void magic. We know they serve the old ones, so they serve the Void Lords. But if you look at the influence that they have on the world around them, it is always decay. Always. It doesn't matter what it's always decay that they express. Their only real power of void would be the whispers, and we know that the void loves the whispers. Outside of that, the old gods, pure decay creatures. So I think they were the original children of Azeroth. I think they were the original defense mechanism against the Titans. But they failed. The fact that Azerite shows this decay versus spirit elemental is where this comes from. So it may actually be that Azeroth in the beginning, and this may be where my theory changes a little, it's not that Azeroth absorbed spirit and the old gods absorbed decay, but rather Azeroth absorbed both spirit and decay. So Azeroth herself became the catalyst of life. Azeroth is, in and of herself, both the creator as well as the undertaker. So all life effectively exists within Azeroth. She creates it, it decays, it becomes death, and then it's created again. And all of that exists purely within Azeroth.
Creation and destruction, as referred to by Sylvanas. In the series of Archives quests in Dornogal, where we find out about the purpose of the Titans, it is possible to see Azeroth's World Soul. Before the Manifold and World Core were made, the World Soul's color contains both blue and orange. After Manifold and World Core were built, it's only shown as orange, implying that the Whisper of Il'gynoth, her heart is a crater, means that creation was taken from her and given to Argus, a shattered soul fueling infinite evil. Argus is red, necro death naturally, and blue spells have soul, spirit.
Very interesting
could mean that fearing
idea.
what Azeroth would do in her pure, destructive state, Titans put her to sleep and used creation for their own means, not having to deal with destruction. It is possible that the Titans used the power of creation for their own means at first, but then after their defeat it was used by Sargeras and the Burning Legion to revive demons for their infinite army. Sargeras could have given Azeroth the power of creation back from Argus in some form at the end of the Antorus raid, which manifested in...
What if that is what was inside the blade? What if what Sargeras was giving back to Azeroth was that's why the Azerite is blue and decay? The blade of Sargeras was returning the life to Azeroth.
In form of Azerite during BFA. As Naru can go from light to shadow, so could old gods go from decay to spirit. Before events of Legion, Azeroth core could have only been decay, destruction, warcraft. Is it strange how there's always war on Azeroth all the time? And is it possible Elune, as one of the original gods on Azeroth, went into hiding or slumber to stop her own change from spirit to decay?
I think so.
Once creation had been taken away from Azeroth. First time we ever see Elune be active is after the events of Legion, the Emerald Nightmare, and then Taurus the Burning Throne, when the creation returned to the hearth and manifested as Azerite. Shaldrasil is a very interesting tree. It is the oldest known tree on Azeroth. During Legion, it has been transformed by the Emerald Nightmare. Whose nightmare? Who was asleep? During the quest line in Val'sharah, it is possible to see a clear change from pure green to pure red necromantic energy. Raid the Emerald Nightmare oddly resembles Visions of N'Zoth scenario from the BFA. During the last boss encounter in the heart of the Nightmare, we can see unique old god enemies. These models were first used for Yogg-Saron and Y'Shaarj and are never used with these colors again. It is implying that the transformation is happening and at the end of the raid it gets stopped. Since Legion there has been no mention of the Nightmare, and even recently when we spent a whole patch in the Emerald Dream, there was not a single mention.
I would just like to point out that while there is a no mention of the Nightmare, that is only because the Rift of Arm was closed. Remember, that's what Malfurion did inside the Emerald Nightmare. He found the Rift of Arm and he closed it. So it is entirely possible that Xal'atath may actually go open that. Now, the Rift of Arm scared Malfurion so much that he wouldn't even go in to try and defeat it. And Malfurion is strong enough. He could probably defeat whatever's inside there. So when Malfurion is so afraid that he goes, no, I'm not screwing around with that. No chance. You kind of know, okay, whatever is inside there is very dangerous.
Mention of the Nightmare, which could imply that Elune has woken up. Titans discovered 4 decay old gods when they first arrived to Azeroth. Given we know there are 5 old gods...
I should just explain. The Titans claim that that's what they found. That is their claim. That does not mean that that is actually what they found. Just to put that into perspective.
From Chronicle, it is possible one of them was a spirit old god, Accolonn, and that no transformation took place in her case. It could be possible that the bodies of 40k old gods have been turned to trees in some form. Calcified essence of Azeroth is Beledar, which could be shadow and life, which is on a crossroad with spirit and decay. In nature, crystals represent resonance and cohesion. There are radio receivers which are only powered by a crystal with no energy source. During the Hallowfall questline, we found out that Beledar is not the source of the Radiant Song, Azeroth's voice, but instead merely a resonator. Eternal flame spells that Arathi use do not come from Beledar. This could be a combination of holy and fire, while Beledar would be life. In some form, it is possible that Azeroth is a being on a cross-section of shadow life and spirit decay, and in forming of the world, it is choosing what it wants to become. In the Thousand Years of War audio drama, Argus was called the Emerald Star, implying that his world soul could have been green as well, but turned out red. This could be what the model is that writers for the game use in some form, and is the model that is described within the Palvalatar's Codex of Dimensional Structure, with all the forces given color and place within the model. I'd love to hear your ideas and suggestions.
Very interesting video.
Before wrapping up, I'll go over a few interesting things I've noticed. The primary three colors could be a fractal for classic RPG class design: warrior, thief, and mage. Three different methods of going through life. Warrior would be spiritual, belief-driven, and transformed or destroyed from the process of walking through life. Thief would be more earthly, natural, using worldly tools and tricks over ideology and beliefs. Mage would be more methodical, using methods, man-made tools, for interpretation of reality. Parallel examples in real life would be law, science, math, and chemistry. Terminology used in real life and in games is parallel too. Priests use elemental life magic, renewal, plus there is plenty of examples of priests being dressed in green but never in purple like paladins, except shadow priests. Life could be elemental light, and is different to holy light from within, which they also use. Paladins use elemental shadow magic, memory. Definition of the word retribution is punishment inflicted on someone as vengeance for a wrong or a criminal act. There are 6 Librams in the original version of the game. 4 of green-colored ones are associated with healing, 2 of the ones associated with retribution or protection are purple. Marad uses purple armor, and there are a lot of purple motifs in paladin armor. In Skyrim, a player character learns a shout that can bring a dragon to the ground. The way it works, according to Parthenax, is that the Dragonborn is forcing a dragon to experience the concept of mortality. This is the animation for Mortal Strike, blue and orange. So from now on, when I use Mortal Strike on a target, this is what I'm going to imagine. Thanks for watching.
Very good video. Very insightful. Really makes you think about the universe. This is a very good video. Absolutely give this a like. And follow this Marcus, because it's good. I have no problems with any of this. This is a really good video.